Commissioner first with the roll call. Please stand.
Our Father in heaven, we are indeed grateful this day to be gathered together. We are grateful for this great city which we are able to live in, and we're grateful for those that work diligently to serve us here and to ensure that we have a safe, wonderful place to live. We are grateful for this country which we live in and for the freedoms which we enjoy. We're grateful to be gathered here together and be able to assemble peacefully to discuss matters that will enable us to better our community and to serve those that need our help. We are grateful for those that serve our country and those that fight for our freedoms, and we pray that thou will protect them and keep them safe. We ask thee to please bless us, that we will seek out the poor and the needy, that we will reach out to those that need our help, that we will be led to those that we can serve, that we will work together as a community to ensure that we have a safe, wonderful place to live. We pray for thy protection upon those that serve our city and those that serve our community. And we pray that thou wilt be with us tonight as we conduct this meeting. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks, sir.
Commissioner Brinson,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Firstner,
Here.
Commissioner Oliver.
Here.
All right. Presentations and proclamations. Tonight we have two. One is Community Planning Month of October, and I'm going to let Commissioner first read that.
Okay, proclamation. Whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places. And whereas community planning and planners can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work, live, and play. And whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be equally involved in making choices that determine the shared vision of their neighborhoods. And whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories. And whereas the American Planning Association and its professional institute, the American Institute of Certified Planners, endorse National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight the contributions sound planning and plan implementation make to the quality of our neighborhoods and environment. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other citizen planners who have contributed to their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Ocoee. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the state of Florida and the city of Ocoee, and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby proclaim October 2019 as Community Planning Month. In witness thereof, I hereunto have set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Ocoee, Florida, to be affixed this 15th day of October, 2019. Rusty Johnson, Mayor.
Is anybody here for this, Melanie? Oh, Mike, go down. Mike?
Ginger and Gil.
Family, November 2nd through the 9th for Commissioner Wilson.
The proclamation is, whereas the city of Ocoee is blessed with a multiple of families, an essential part of the cultural, social, and spiritual fabric of our community. And whereas the City of Ocoee Commissioners recognize that strong families are at the center of the community, that children live better lives when their families are strong, and the families are strong when they live in communities that connect them to economic opportunities, social networks, and services. And whereas the theme for this year's Week of the Family is to be present. To be present means to spend time with family and friends without distractions. And whereas we hope you will consider every day how you can be present with your family, your parents, your siblings, and children, if you have them. And whereas during the week of November 2nd through November 9th, the City of Ocoee residents should take the time to honor the importance of families and recommit to enhancing and extending the special connection that supports and strengthens them. Now therefore, the City Commission of the City of Ocoee does hereby declare the week of November 2nd through the 9th of 2019 as Week of the Family in Ocoee, and urge all citizens to share in the many festivities prepared for this occasion. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Ocoee, Florida, to be affixed on this 15th day of October by our Mayor, Rusty Johnson. Is there anyone here?
Yeah, Bishop. Bishop.
Okay.
Bring everybody up if you want to, get a picture.
Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you for
You wanted the pink one.
It means so much to live in a city that's so funded with families.
Okay, well, I'll stop too.
All right. Staff reports.
Nothing this evening, ma'am.
Oh, you're so funny.
Commissioners' announcements. Commissioner Brinson.
None at this time.
Commissioner Wilson.
None at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Person.
None at this time.
Commissioner Oliver.
No, at this time.
All right, I have a couple of announcements here they got up here. The West Oaks Mall is hosting Malloween on Thursday, October the 31st from 4 p.m. through 6 p.m. This is a free, safe, and fun event for the kids to interact with the Ocoee Police Department. There will also be trick-or-treating at participating retailers. This Friday and Saturday, October the 18th and 19th, is the last weekend to enjoy the City of Ocoee's annual haunted house located at 951 Ocoee Popka Road. Admission is $5. Also, with Thanksgiving just around the corner, attendees are encouraged to bring treats in the form of non-perishable food items, which will be donated to the West Orange Christian Service Center. The annual Ocoee Founders Day Tournament will be held this Friday, October the 18th, hosted at the Forest Lake Golf Club in Ocoee. Additional Founders Day activities are also scheduled for Saturday, October the 26th, which include the poker tournament, Chick-fil-A 5K run, classic car show, and fishing tournament. Times and locations for these events can be found on OcoeeFoundersFestival.org. All right, on the, any public comments, let's see, I've got Scala? That'll be during that item on number 7. All right, thank you. All right. Consent agenda. I'm gonna have to, we're gonna pull item 2.
I'd also like to pull item 1.
Pull item 1.
Yes.
All right. All right. We'll start with, let's approve item 3, 4, and 5.
I'll be happy to make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
Seconds.
Seconded by Commissioner Hall. Any more comments? If not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, item number 1.
Item number 1 is just the approval for the minutes from our last meeting where we had our tentative budget hearing and a special hearing held on September 11th, and also the final budget hearing held on September 25th. And I would like to, the reason I'm pulling this item is I just wanted to be able to just make a brief, very brief statement as I do honor the decisions made by this council, but I cannot in good conscience approve this item knowing that it did not have any budgets earmarked, any money earmarked for an audit. So that my position is the same. It's always been the same as it pertains to the audit. So therefore, I just want to respectfully go on the record as stating that I would not want to approve a tentative budget or the minutes for the budget that did not earmark any funding for an external audit of the city. I was just wanted to go on record for that.
All right, item 2 we pulled to go over some new information. All right. Anybody want to make a motion to approve item 1?
I will.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner First. Let's vote. Motion carries with 3 votes, 4 votes for, and 1 against. Mr. Oliver against. All right. Item number 6.
No, 2.
Huh?
You got 2.
No, I said we're pulling it for further discussion.
Oh, a
Not tonight.
future agenda?
You pulled number 2?
I pulled it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you just pulled it to talk about
Pull.
it. Okay.
All right, now back again, number 6. Public hearing, request for variance, Destiny Hyder property, 401 Calliope Court, zoning manager. Gadadar.
Keel Gajadar, zoning manager. Good evening, Mayor, Commission. The item in front of you
Oh,
is a proposed variance to the maximum impervious surface area of our resident property. So what is impervious? Impervious surface is surface area such as pavement, a driveway that doesn't allow the drainage into the earth for the water. The property is located at 401 Calliope Street, which is south of Moore Road, east of McGuire. And if you can look here, this is the property in reference to Moore Road and McGuire. The property is located in the Windsor Landing Subdivision, Lot 98. It's a gated community with about 214 homes, and it's zoned for R1AA single-family dwelling. This should give you a better idea of the home, which is right here. So the variance, what is the requirement for the zoning for impervious? In single-family dwellings, R1AA, there's a 50% maximum impervious surface area for each lot. Typically with newer planned unit developments, there's newer stormwater drainage and such, where certain exceptions occur where the impervious is a little bit higher. We looked back for any site plans for this subdivision, and unfortunately, we weren't able to find any exceptions for that, so it's zoned R1AA, which goes with the 50% requirement. So what's the variance request for? The variance request is for an addition for a screen enclosed patio, which, as you can see, is notated in the back of the property here. The patio addition is going to cause the impervious to go from, well, they're required from 50 to 54.8. So the request is to allow the maximum to go from 50% to 54.8%. The patio itself is 884 square feet. And as you can see here, it would go to the rear of the property. The Planning and Zoning Commission also spoke on this and noticed that a lot of the homes within the subdivision had pools, unlike the property here. The city itself, when it comes to pools, does not count a swimming pool as impervious because there is some flexibility with the water. However, we do count pool decks. So that was one issue that I looked at during the P&Z meeting. There's also a park or an open space to the left of the property, which is 100% impervious surface area here. The P&Z board decided and voted 4-1 to allow recommendation for approval for the variance. And with that, I can entertain any questions in regard to the proposed variance.
Keel, just to clarify, it's for a pool or a pool deck?
It's for a screen enclosed patio,
Okay, but there's no pool.
no pool.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm gonna open the public hearing first and see if anybody in the public has any comments for item 6, request for variance on Jason Howder property. Anybody have any comments? No comments. I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the dais. Anybody, commissioners, have any comments?
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, we don't count a pool as impervious, only the decking of
Correct.
the pool.
Correct. What the,
I find that fascinating because a pool is basically, I don't know the construction of one. All I know is we've had it remarcited. But explain to me why we would consider a pool impervious.
sorry, it's considered pervious.
I mean,
I may have
pervious, I'm
misspoke.
sorry.
Yes.
Why would we consider that?
I believe because of the water with the drainage from the pool, it allows flexibility where if the level goes up a little bit higher, it allows the water to be drained out to a certain level. So that's why I think there's some flexibility when there's rain going directly into the pool. There's some water, I believe. I could probably answer that question a little better.
In the spirit of helping homeowners, sometimes that are near the 50% mark, typically a pool is not filled up to the rim. There is 4, sometimes 6 inches of area that water can go in and fill up. So we give them credit for that. We count the pool deck area, but we do not count the pool water space. That has been a policy of the city that, and when I was over the permitting, I reviewed it, and we've never had a issue with a pool overflowing. So we've kept that credit to help property owners have a nice pool deck with a pool, so we don't count the pool water area in those calculations for impervious.
Is there a deck size that would meet the 50%, or is it already at 50% without?
If the patio was reduced by half, it would bring the impervious to 49.2%.
And that would bring their deck to 400 square feet, which is what?
442 square feet.
Yeah.
So Keel, I'm not sure if it was clear. Can you just restate the P&Z's recommendation and staff's recommendation for this item?
The P&Z voted 4-1 to allow or recommend approval of the variance of the screen enclosed patio.
The next door is a lot, it's a park, correct? A little play park or a
It is an
park?
open space area, that's correct.
Open space, directly next door to this property.
Right here, yes. Yes, ma'am.
All right, anybody else got any questions?
Yes, one question. Will that property be required to have any drainage one way or the
Whenever-
other towards the park?
Whenever a patio is being built, we require engineering, and drainage is required as far as gutters.
Good question, Commissioner. The drainage for these lots drain from back to front, and then the drainage takes it down towards this area of the subdivision into these drain inlets. And some of the lot sort of drains this way. So in the discussions with the Planning and Zoning Commission, they just kind of looked they didn't look at the size of the house. All of these lots met in impervious. If they were kind of over, we didn't count the pool water area because of that elevational change in the water line. And they took that into account amongst the ability for water, if it were to drain, it could drain to this area, would not harm a property owner since the draining tends to go this way per the drainage plan.
Okay.
I'm assuming their HOA approved it.
As part of our permitting process, we do not require HOA approval. We put a note on the building permit when they apply for a building permit for the screen enclosure that they should seek HOA approval, but it's not a requirement of our permitting process.
Anybody else?
I have one quick question, based on the last comment that you just made. If the HOA disapproves it for whatever reasons, would that start, I guess the question is, would that be any issue with the city? Would the city have to pull their permit, or they can continue to move forward? It becomes a legal battle between the resident and the HOA?
Correct, absolutely right.
Yes? That it? All right.
I think,
Anybody else? No more? I need a,
I think the resident wants to say something, I think.
Who?
I think it's the resident, I'm assuming.
well, already, that's why I opened it to the public. All right. You- Come on up, I'll back it up. Open the public again for things. That's why I asked about the public, so come on up.
We do have an engineer, we are going through a company, Sarima Jasani. So yeah, the engineer we have the drainage system going on, there's gutters getting installed, and we are the only house in our street without any pool or any lanai. So, and the reason we went for 54% because it just makes the house look symmetrical. The way the lanai is built, we want to start from one end and end where the lanai ends. Otherwise, it would be very off.
This is going to be a covered patio?
Yes, it's a screen patio.
All right, anybody else have any questions? You need to fill one of these out, please.
I got it.
Turn it in to the city clerk. That's why I didn't have one, so I didn't know you
Oh,
wanted to
okay.
speak. Well, okay, so, thank you. All right. Need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the variance for this 401 Calliope Court.
Motion made by Commissioner Firstman to approve,
I'll second it.
seconded by Commissioner Brennan. Any more comment? No more comment, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously. All right, it passed, thank you. Fill out that form, and please turn it in. All right, item number 7. You handling that one too?
Yes, sir.
All right, it's for this Sakala property, Lady Bird Academy, 2060 West Road. All right.
The next item in front of you is for a variance request for the max wall sign height of a commercial property located at 2060 West Road, which is currently the Lady Bird Academy, due to be opened in a couple of weeks. The property is located to the north of State Road 429, directly south of West Road. A better look at the property as it's being constructed. And notice to the north, the right-of-way as it decreases going towards the east. So this is the property line. So the property is located in the C2 zoning, which is commercial. The wall signage allowance for a 25,000 or up to 25,000 foot building in that zoning is 75 square feet, or up to 75 square feet, with a height of 3.5 feet. The request for the variance is to allow a wall sign height of 62.3 inches, or a little bit over 5 feet, which is about a foot and a half more than the maximum allowed. Now, the square footage of the sign is 47.6 square feet, which is well below the maximum allowed square footage of the sign. However, again, the height is requesting to be over 5 feet. So the proposed plot, the sign is proposed to be posted here, which is to the front of the property. If you look here to the north, this is West Road here, compared to the other picture I showed. So from here, to West Road, to the actual property line is about 100 linear feet. The property is a bit at a disadvantage compared to the adjoining lots due to the decreasing right-of-way. Recently, there was a monument sign that got approved, which would be about 10 feet into the property line here, which would still be about 110 feet away from West Road. The actual wall sign, this wall sign here, would be placed here on a canopy to the front of the building. That would be about 130, but if you look at the West Road to that canopy, about 200 linear feet away from the right of way. So the request is to allow the height to go from 3.5 feet to 5.4 feet. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Is there a P and Z recommendation on that one?
The P&Z board did unanimously approve the recommendation. The applicant is also here as well to.
All right, I'm gonna open it to the public first, and also we have a client here, Derek. You can come up now if you want. But anybody in the public have any comments? Anybody in the audience? All right, now come on up. Bounce house. I'm gonna close the public hearing, bring it up here, and then let anybody on the dais have questions we can ask them. You can, if you want to make any comments, go ahead.
Thanks, sir. So, sorry. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank everyone on City Commission. You all have been an integral part of getting us to this point right now, and we're excited to be a part of the Ocoee community, and they've been very welcoming. And again, I just want to say thank you, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here at this juncture. The pictures I just want to show are kind of the reasons why I believe that the P&Z committee unanimously voted to approve the variance. It's for twofold. One, Mr. Keel had elaborated on that we're at a disadvantage compared to the other properties, sitting roughly 90 feet back, and then by the time you actually get to the portico sign, it is roughly 200 feet back. And when you compare that to the surrounding properties, that is by far the largest distance, when it comes to looking at a portico sign. So with the pictures that I took of the property, as you approach it, coming down West Road, you see that there are beautiful trees there that the city, that we appreciate and we're going to keep, and the city wants us to keep, obstructing, the view of the property. There's the large, right-of-way, again, much larger than any other surrounding area property. As we continue up West Road, there's going to be other trees that will obstruct the property. Again, these are just pictures indicating the challenges that the property presents. So from a marketing perspective, we will, obviously be at a disadvantage, but also from a safety perspective, we are concerned about cars speeding from that intersection at Ocoee-Apopka Road up West Road to try to see through trees, back through a large right-of-way to see a sign. If they don't catch the sign right away, they'll have either a sharp deceleration, into the property, or if folks were to miss the turn in, their immediate response might be to actually cut across 2 lanes of traffic and go to the U-turn area that's depicted in this picture. And lastly, just want to show you the difference of what the sign would look like from the street view. This is the sign that we have initially proposed to the city It is well below the 75 square feet that's allowable. And again, the only thing that would be, we're asking for the variance is just the height of Lucy the Ladybug to be 3.5 feet. And this is the comparison of what the city will approve, which is, I believe, roughly 25 square feet. So if you can see the difference, you may not even be able to read the sign, based on that depiction. So based on the recommendation from the P&Z committee, and then also from our strong encouragement with respect to marketing and safety, that's why we're here asking for the variance.
Could you go, Mr. Sakala, could you go back one, please?
Yes, ma'am.
What it would look like, that's what you're looking for.
Yes, ma'am.
In all our ordinances in the city and all our businesses, we all have the same thing. I mean, all those businesses down that street, everybody has the same thing. I mean, this all goes by the same requirement. If we change yours and anybody comes in, then we're gonna have to redo it and change theirs.
Actually, sir, the Dunkin' Donuts has a much larger sign than 3.5 feet.
I'm not gonna go into what size their
okay.
sign is, but that had to be approved through the city. I mean,
Yes, sir. It did get approved
Yeah.
through the city.
I'm not debating that, I'm just saying, if the city's got a sign ordinance or a landscaping, the people to put those in, we require those, so it's up to the commission, though. I just wanted to voice that because we have that ordinance and for whatever it pertains to everywhere in the city.
Yes, sir.
So if it turns out we do one, if anybody else comes up, you might as well be ready for the change.
Yeah,
Anybody else, any comments?
yeah, I do have a couple comments. The sign, how would it be facing West Road? Because my concern is obstruction of view for drivers driving the ingress and egress of that property, as well as drivers coming, I guess, going east on West Road. I mean, is there any obstruction there? Because I'm with the mayor, I'm not a big fan of having large signs, sprinkled alongside the road unless it's absolutely necessary. I know the sign on the building itself, I guess on the portico there, seems a little small, to be read from the road. However, that's not the one I'm concerned with. The one I'm concerned with is the one that would be closer.
Oh, the monument sign?
The monument sign.
Yes, sir. The monument sign is well within the specifications of the city, and it has been approved and permitted, sir.
We're just talking about the sign.
Just the
you see
signage.
there on-
Just
Yes,
the
sir.
wall sign.
Yes, yes, sir. Just the portico sign.
Okay.
All right, anybody else have any comments? All right. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve this variance.
Second?
Motion made by Commissioner Brinson to approve the variance. Do I hear? Seconded
Second.
by
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson. All right, anybody ready to vote? No more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Moving on to number 8. Second reading of ordinance for VMG Estates, Ocoee Townhomes, 815 Clare Corner, Ocoee Road, small-scale land use amendment and rezoning to plan unit development.
Thank you, Mayor.
Director
Yes.
Ruger.
For the record, Mike Rumor. Again, this property is located not too far north of Silver Star Road and Blueford Avenue. It's on Lakewood if it's in the city, Clare Corner, Ocoee if it's in the county. We annexed this property not too long ago into the city. At the time we annexed it, we did not provide a land use or a zoning as the developer was looking at options for developing the property, potentially single-family or townhomes, which we need a medium density. The item before you today is a small-scale land use amendment of the property, of the 3.89 acres, from low-density residential to medium density, which would allow up to 8 dwelling units an acre. The property is wooded, undeveloped. The land use is low density, and then if this item passes tonight, it would be changed to medium density and allow up to 8 dwelling units an acre. Associated with this is a rezoning to plan unit development for a 26-unit townhome development in the plan unit development. This plan would be approved as part of the zoning of that. The townhomes would be a mixture of 1 and 2 car townhome buildings, maximum units of 26. The rezoning was sent to the school board. It passed school concurrency, so they did not have to mitigate for any desks that were created from the elementary, middle, or high school students generated. Looked at a couple of the renderings they're finishing up. These are gonna be really nice townhomes. It's gonna be a complement to the area. The area is a little bit different than you would expect in this part of the city. The land uses and zoning, we have heavy industrial by where the old FX building is, and now we have a steel recyclable. We have I-1 zoning and land use. We have some medium density uses in the area. We are looking at projecting Lakewood Avenue as it goes all the way up to Claricona, Ocoee, to become a major collector road in the city as a north-south spine. And this is an appropriate type of a land use, an appropriate type of development on that type of a busy road. So with that, staff recommends approval of the small-scale land use amendment from low-density residential to medium-density and the associated rezoning to plan unit development with this land use plan. I'll entertain any questions.
You got something to read first? I'm gonna open the public hearing for this item of the VMG Estates Ocoee Townhomes. You wanna read it?
This is the comprehensive plan amendment ordinance. This is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan as adopted on September 18, 1991 by ordinance number 91-28 as amended. Amending the future land use map of the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan to change the future land use designation from low-density residential to medium-density residential for certain real property containing approximately 3.89 acres located at 815 Claricona Ocoee Road on the east side of North Lakewood Avenue, aka Claricona Ocoee Road, 103 feet north of Burnt Tree Court, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city future land use map, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. And then the rezoning ordinance is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, changing the zoning classification from Orange County R1 to Ocoee PUD planned unit development on certain real property containing approximately 3.89 acres located at 815 Claricona Ocoee Road on the east side of North Lakewood Avenue, also known as Claricona Ocoee Road, 103 feet north of Burnt Tree Court, pursuant to the application submitted by the property owner. Finding such zoning to be consistent with the Ocoee Comprehensive Plan, providing for and authorizing the revision of the official city zoning map, repealing inconsistent ordinances, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, public hearing is still open. Anybody in the public have any comments? Does the person who's asking for this here need any comments or not? No, okay. All right, I'm gonna close the public hearing and bring it back to the dais. Anybody got any questions?
I have one.
All right, comments?
Where did we get, and it has nothing to do with this, but where did we get the 815 Claricona Ocoee? When it's on Lakewood, it doesn't touch Lakewood. I mean, it doesn't touch Claricona Ocoee, from my knowledge.
As properties that are in the city have a Lakewood address, properties that are in the county have a
Used to be
Claricona. Yes.
Did it?
Yeah.
Didn't know that. Okay, no, I just couldn't, I knew where it was, I just couldn't figure out the address. Yeah.
I'm surprised it was addressed when there's not a structure, but it has an address tied to it, so.
Just have one.
All right, anybody else?
Yes, just one question. Could you go back to the picture, yeah, that one there? Where are the easements for this property as far as entering the property, as far as, where's the entrance for that property? Is it only one entrance or is it two entrances?
There'll be one
I
entrance.
see black tree.
Oh, I'm
there.
sorry. So, Commissioner, the entrance will be off of Lakewood. It'll be one entrance, one spine road with a cul-de-sac. You can see in the plan. An entrance here with a cul-de-sac. The entrance, the roadway is a full 50 feet. The radius meets city standards. A lot of townhome developments, they will do they'll do private roads, smaller roadways, maybe but however, this developer came forward with a full, they want it to be a public road, so it meets the full 50 foot of width, 24 foot of pavement, so it's a regular standard public road.
So
one entrance.
Parking cars on either side of the road, you can still
Yeah,
get through.
that was, one of the comments from the planning and zoning was providing some guest parking. So we have 4 parallel parking spaces provided here, and as they get into the engineering and fine tune that open space that they can achieve. The minimum is 20%, but with their pond, they might be able to get more than 80% pervious. They will look at this open space track area to provide a couple more parking spaces as well. So, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Anybody else have any comments? All right. I'm gonna need to do, we'll do the small scale first, and then we'll do the second reading. All right, I need a motion for the small scale comprehensive plan.
I'd like to make a motion, second reading of the small scale comprehensive plan.
Motion made by Commissioner Oliver. Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Who's that? Commissioner Brinson seconded. Any more comments? If not, let's vote on that one. That carries unanimously. All right, go to item number B, reading of the rezoning ordinance, second reading. Do I hear a motion for that?
I also like to make a motion for the second reading of the rezoning ordinance.
Motion made by Commissioner Oliver for rezoning ordinance. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Any more comments? If not, let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
And Mayor, I did want to state, this is large scale, so you will see this again at the site plan
We
with
will.
the elevations, yes.
Yeah, we will see it again at the site plan. Thank you. All right, regular agenda. Update on new City Hall project. Approval of exterior design concepts and process moving forward. Assistant Utilities Director, Curtelli.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Again, Jamie Curtel, Utilities Department. And I am here tonight with Wharton Smith and HKS Architects to present an update on the City Hall project and also to present 3 possible exterior design concepts. I just want to provide a little bit of background for anyone that is not familiar with the project, and that is that in August of this year, actually August 6th, Commission did approve Amendment 1 to the Wharton Smith contract. That amendment added in not only geotech and site civil to Wharton Smith's contract, but it also brought on a new team member to the Wharton Smith team, and that was HKS Architects. So HKS has been on the team for approximately 2.5 months, and during that time, they have reviewed the design build criteria package and done some revisions. They have met with all the department heads to discuss space needs. They have revised the space standards for the city, and they have also revised the program for the building. It's a very short time frame, but they are also here tonight to present 3 exterior concepts. And these 3 concepts actually relate to 3 methods of construction. What staff gave them the direction to do is to take a look at what would fit within the context of the city and then come up with 3 buildings. They're basically the same type of building, but with 3 different types of construction. And that is what Nathan Butler, who's with HKS, is going to present tonight. And once he does that, we're going to have a discussion about which design selection you would like to move forward with.
Thank you, Jamie. While she's queuing that up, I'll just say it's an honor to be here. Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commissioners. It's an honor to be part of the Wharton Smith Design Build team. My name is Nathan Butler with HKS Architects, and as Jamie indicated, I am here tonight to review with you the design options that have been prepared with tremendous input, as Jamie indicated, from the department heads and from the city staff. And I'm trying to get the microphone close here, so hopefully everyone can hear me all right. It is an honor to be here, an honor to be with so many members of the great community of Ocoee as well. And so with that, I'll launch into this. So what we'll be covering with you today is an overview of our understanding of the project as we've worked on it over the past 2.5 months. I'll review a proposed site plan with you, as well as 3 different and distinct design options for the new City Hall, and then a review and a discussion of those 3 options. And before launching into it, I wanted to highlight for you and for everyone here the master plan, which I'm sure most everyone is familiar with. We have studied this very closely and have a great understanding of the master plan and a great appreciation for the spirit and the intent that's been embodied within this master plan, and the aspirations and the aims that you all have for the city and for the city's future. We think it's a very exciting development. We know it's still work that is in progress and is currently being implemented, particularly with the recent construction of the Lakeshore Center. And so I think the new City Hall facility really presents a tremendous opportunity to make the next statement about the direction and the growth and the vision for Ocoee's future. And part of that, as we understand it, is this tremendous vision and intent to create space that supports a wonderful and varied civic life. And so this is an image from a site in California that we thought really exemplified a lot of different types of activities and the type of activities that are community-based that in a lot of ways you all envision happening across this whole site that we're currently occupying for this meeting tonight. Community gathering, special events, different types of activities for families and for children. And so just a wonderful outdoor space and a variety of activities that could support. At the same time, the staff, everyone we've talked to as we've worked through this with the city, has really impressed upon us the importance of creating and establishing a really great, exceptional customer experience. So everyone who comes to City Hall, regardless of what their purpose is for their visit to City Hall or to come there as a workplace, we want it to be a great environment, a great experience. If you're there every day or if you're there as more of an intermittent or a first-time visitor, the interior environment for this should be open, it should be welcoming, it should be bright, it should be a place that really embodies the spirit and the vision for the community's future. And so with that, I'll launch into the proposed site plan and just speak a little bit about how we've established the direction for that. So this is an overview of the site, and we'll recognize its parameters from the master plan document. The City Hall site is at the, and I guess before I go further, I'll point out that north, for everyone's orientation, north is to the left on this graphic. So the City Hall site is on the southwest corner, and you'll see the City Hall label there. So occupying that corner of the overall master planned site area. And so what we've really looked at with the city's input, staff's input, is coming up with a building that's got a very symmetrical orientation to it, as you see here in the footprint of it. But it's set back from Bluford Avenue to create an opportunity for a kind of a civic plaza in the front of City Hall that faces Bluford that can support that type of civic life that I mentioned earlier, and becomes part of the varied activities and atmosphere that participates in everything else that's happening across the site. And so we felt that by setting it back and creating that space from Bluford Avenue, that created opportunity for things to happen in and around City Hall. I think another important aspect of this is parking. There's a tremendous variety in your master plan and in the recently implemented streetscape as well in terms of type of parking, whether it's on street or just off the street, off the main street, or in the concentrated lot that's just to the east of where the City Hall building would be located. A lot of different ways to access this building, and we need to be considerate of that as we further develop and implement the design. And so this is a closer up view of that. So looking at that symmetrical footprint, that civic plaza, and then all of these different varieties of parking around where City Hall would be, but still an opportunity to connect to the green space there to the east as well that that kind of wraps around the parking and heads off toward the lake. That there's a great opportunity to have a very civic, very monumental and formal presence on Blueford Avenue that faces the more kind of dense area of future development for the city. And then a different scale, a different treatment on the east side as it faces the park and toward the lakeshore environment. So I'll quickly review with you the three different design options that we've put together for this. And you'll see listed there the three that we've put together are based around three very different types of construction methods. One being a tilt-up concrete construction system. The other would be primarily a brick masonry veneer with elements of precast concrete detailing worked into that. And the third option being an entirely precast concrete building envelope. So I'll provide some more depth on each of those options as we go forward. And what we've elected to do with this presentation, understanding that there's a real focus on the design, the nature of this design, its stylistic and its aesthetic implications for the city. We've given each of these three options very distinct and very different stylistic treatments and aesthetic treatments. So there'll be some very clear differences you'll see as I run through these in terms of their overall style. And so the first option I mentioned, tilt-up concrete. These are a couple of precedent images. Tilt-up concrete is a type of a construction system that's used fairly frequently. It's fairly predominant around Central Florida. So I'm sure many of you have driven by or seen buildings that have been constructed using this method. It's done quite frequently for its speed, for its economy. The result, oftentimes, as you see these precedent images, is a panelized kind of product or system that is very flat. There's not a lot of depth and dimension to it overall. So the first view I'll show you of the building scale and the massing for this in a tilt-up concrete type system. This is looking back toward Stark Lake. So there in front of the City Hall building volume, you see that Civic Plaza facing Blueford Avenue. And then the City Hall itself is that symmetrical kind of footprint. It's a 3-story volume at the center and then 2 1-story wings that project to the north and the south from there. So, and we've put some hints in here of that Civic Plaza and some of the different types of treatment you can have in there, whether it's landscape or hardscape. Creating areas to set up tents and have events, things that are part of the rest of the activities that would go on around the site. And we took the liberty of even putting a stage back there on the lake. But a lot of great opportunities you all created through your master plan for things to happen on this site. The next view here is from Blueford Avenue. So this is looking at that western face of the building. We've removed the trees and landscaping here for clarity, so you can see the face of the building a little better. But with this tilt-up concrete methodology, it's I guess for lack of a better term, it's very box-like. So the building volumes project straight up, and there's, as I said earlier, not a lot of depth or dimension that happens with that. But we do with this, and you'll see it in each of the schemes, envision a taller, kind of a monumental portal element that would face Blueford to demark the entry and identify this as the City Hall facility for Ocoee. The opposite side, facing the park, facing the lake, we've given a little different treatment. We've projected more out from the face of the building and envisioned even some occupiable areas up there so that there's a little bit of outdoor space where people who are using and occupying City Hall every day have an opportunity to get outside and take advantage of the park setting and views to the lake. This is a more finished, kind of polished, rendered view of that, where we've put some of the landscape treatment back in here and given it a little more photorealistic treatment, just to help better display this, so you can visualize how this could look in its reality. And here too, I think that tilt-up system, you can kind of see the overall kind of two-dimensional or flat effect that you get from that. So from there, I'll launch into the second option, which, as I mentioned earlier, this envisions a combination, primarily envisioning a brick masonry veneer and then utilizing precast concrete as kind of detail elements within that. So the precedent images that I've put up here are a facility that actually HKS designed. This is a stadium facility for Texas Christian University, but it utilizes the two materials in a way that, and utilizes a vocabulary that's a little more traditional and in a way that we thought could blend in well with some of what we've seen within the master plan development for some of the future development within the core area of Ocoee's center. And I think there's some opportunities with precast to create these custom elements, as you see on the left side of this image, where you can start to kind of put images or words and cast those in so they start to tell kind of a story about your community. Another precedent slide I thought would be relevant to put in here, another brick masonry veneer City Hall facility, which combines precast elements, is Claremont City Hall. So this is very nearby, and many of you, I'm sure, have seen this City Hall, but it combines the two elements in a way that gives it more richness and depth. And I thought the image on the right would be very beneficial to look at too, because there's even things you can do with the brick veneer to step it in, step it out, and create kind of shadow lines and create a base for the building that can add to its kind of richness of character in a way that's very easy to execute and very economical. And so what we've envisioned for this scheme, utilizing the brick masonry veneer, is in terms of its color. Some of the examples I showed you, you saw more of a yellowish brick with beige tones of the precast, or red brick with different precast elements. And what we've envisioned for this scheme for your City Hall is potentially using actually a white brick with a gray mixture, so have this sort of salt and pepper kind of a look. And I'll get into some more detail about that here within the next image. So this is a look at that building volume. And you can see it's a little more articulated than what you saw with the tilt-up concrete. The massing is stepped back at the top floor, and it creates kind of this base, a middle, and a top, which gives a little more of a traditional feel, a little more of a classic and a traditional look to it. But one of the reasons we thought a white or a salt and pepper kind of brick mixture could be applicable for this project is that there's a lot going on around the site that utilizes red brick or red tones, whether it's in the pavement or in some of the existing and the newer facilities that are being developed in and around this site, that a white or white and gray mix could help City Hall stand out as more of an iconic element, as more of a civic and monumental element in the middle of this new kind of center of development. Outside of that, you can still see the hints here of the Civic Plaza and some of the variety of activities that can take place there. So this is that same view, looking at it from Bluford Avenue at the west elevation. Again, the building massing is a little more articulated, a little more depth and dimension and character to this. The portal element you saw in the tilt-up now is kind of recessed back to the building, and a more delicate canopy comes out from that. And the intent there is to blend this more traditional sort of vocabulary with a little more modern sensibilities to it. So it blends more of a traditional character with more of a modern look and feel at the entry, which can carry into the interior to start to speak to that customer experience. And then you'll see some kind of squiggly lines there in the panels between the windows at the two-story portion. I'll get into some more detail about that in a bit, but this is the view facing the lake, facing the park. Again, similar ideas as you saw in the tilt-up, though, creating opportunities to step outside and enjoy the site, and stepping back the scale a little bit. So it's more monumental and has more of a civic presence on Bluford, but more of a smaller scale that faces the park. And then this is the rendered, kind of more finished rendered look at that arrangement. And then the detail elements I referred to, one of the things for our design group that really stood out to us as we were beginning to work on this, and the first thing we do anytime we're embarking on a new design endeavor with our clients is we really delve into the site and into the community and try to find out everything we can about the nature of the place, the context that we're working in. And one of the things that we really loved is the flower that your city's logo is derived from. It's a beautiful flower, and with precast details, we thought there was an interesting opportunity to create a kind of a stylized version of that that could become this cast frieze panel that could start to speak to some of the aspects of the community that you're most proud of. But those could be anything. Those could even be something you bring in local artists to create panels that tell a story about the history of the community. So some interesting ways to integrate that into a civic building. And so the third option that I'll review is precast concrete. Precast concrete is something that lends itself very well to a wide variety of stylistic applications. And the image on the left you see here is more of an Art Deco application of a precast material. On the right, much more of a modern look and feel to it. And since we went down the more traditional lane with the brick and precast scheme I just reviewed with you, for this one that's purely precast, we felt it would be beneficial to give you a diverse point of view and look at this from a purely modern standpoint. So the scheme you'll see here tends more to this image on the right and looking at different scales and shade and shadow, an application in a more modern setting. So this is the same building volume with a precast skin applied to it. What we've done here is really kind of be fairly playful with the window openings, window scales, and texture and shadow on the material, but the same ideas, and still creating this monumental sort of portal element in the center. And so there's a look at it from Bluford. Again, looking at ways to utilize shade and shadow to activate the facade of the building. And then at the side that faces the park, the similar treatment of stepping the scale down and creating spaces for occupants to step outside and enjoy the site. And then the more polished look at that as it faces the Civic Plaza on Bluford. And so with that, I will welcome and encourage a dialogue about these three different options and stylistic treatments, so that we can gather a consensus around this, and we'll look forward to the next steps with you.
All righty.
And while you're
Been a
thinking,
haze there.
I'll say we've
I went
really
through this
enjoyed
already.
this. We've had a great time working on this with your team.
All right, any discussions, questions? Don't know you.
I mean, I'm formulating, but I know which one I like out of the three.
I have a question about the tilt-up concrete.
I like
Oh,
two
no.
because I really don't like the modern, I don't think that fits in with what we're doing in item three, option three.
That was the modern one.
That's, three is the modern one, correct?
Well, I think,
Correct.
Do you have something, I mean,
well, I
Jamie.
think one tends to be rather modern because it is very, very flat. So you can get a modern look with one or three.
All right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Oliver.
Just have a question about the tilt-up concrete construction. Is that mostly used in like warehousing, or when you see like large warehouses going up? I'm traveling up and down I-4 all the time, and I see these warehouses, and I see these prefab walls go up, and these sticks or beams hanging on. Is
That is,
similar construction?
you're exactly correct.
Okay.
And you do see it most often in warehouse spec office buildings. And it is not one, it was actually considered in the design build criteria package, which is why it is shown. I would tell you it is not one that staff normally would have recommended for a downtown area, especially like Ocoee.
I also heard you mention something about being cost efficient. Would that be the most cost efficient of the three?
Of
That's-
this, and they are actually presented really in the order of cost efficiency. You'll find about a 6 to 7% difference between the tilt-up option, the brick option, and then the precast option. So tilt-up does tend to be the cheapest, but there's a reason for that because it is very flat and very plain. Your brick is probably the middle selection, and your precast tends to be on the higher side. And again, if you went with just the brick option, tilt-up is slightly less by about 6%, and precast is running about 7% higher.
I'd add to that a little bit by making the point too that of the three, option one, the tilt-up option, actually has, I would say, a little higher operating and maintenance cost over time, as you really rely a lot on the coating, on the paint that's applied to the exterior of it. Where the other two, it's an integral, right? It's the inherent quality of the material that is the exterior, skin.
All right.
Yeah, well, it's the first time I've seen this, these three options. And I know we spent a lot of time on option 2. I took note of that. Option 1, I don't particularly care for. I think it's very parochial. It looks more like a school/warehouse than anything else. Option 2 and 3, because I don't know the layout of the office spaces. I don't know what it would look like. So I'm being asked to look at this and make a decision based on the external look of it. So I know we had a lot of discussions before regarding the design, where the commission chambers will be, where the offices spaces will be, who will be where, is it built for scalability? All of those questions I have. And, I don't know if this is the best forum for that.
Yes and no. What we did was we had HKS go back through the program, and the original program that we were given when we started the project was actually provided no growth to the city whatsoever. So what we asked HKS to do is reconfirm with all of the department directors what the size of the building should be. Then we looked at the items that need to be on the first floor. So the chambers, development services, utility billing, and your customer care center and conference rooms. So there are certain things that really have to be on the first floor for city. And those things actually have kind of made that first floor footprint. And then from there, we have kind of moved up. No, it's not set in stone where everything is. We can give you a picture of what the chambers will look like and what a picture of your legislative offices will look like. But at this point in time, I would tell you that the exterior is not going to make a large difference in what the interior will be, because you have kind of set the structure and the size of the building at this point. So things inside can be moved around. We do want to do a lot. You ask about flexibility with modular furniture and less offices. So I think it provides a lot of flexibility. But one thing we did want to do is make sure that that first floor was sized so that the departments that are most used by the public are available to the public on the first floor.
Right.
So if you'd like to see what the chambers looks like, we do have a picture.
Well, I was just curious, because I know last time I saw this, we had a cylinder rotunda.
No.
And so that,
Okay.
and I'm looking at, so I'm like,
And that, you're right, and
What
that
happened?
is, we don't have a cylinder rotunda. They are very expensive to build, and the floor space that was actually shown in that previous plan was really not very efficient. And as you know, I think one of the things we discussed in July was about the budget, that it will be tight. You do need to meet your needs within that budget as best we can. We do anticipate that it's going to be more than what we originally thought. But that rotunda doesn't necessarily, they had a very large, not well-used area in the building that was not very efficient. So we still want people to have that customer experience. And we do have a picture, if you want to pull it up, of the lobby and the chambers. And we want them to feel that it is open and accessible, but we didn't want a lot of unused or wasted space.
Right. And I absolutely agree. I did
Okay.
not like the rotunda idea at all. I didn't. But it's kind of somewhat of a good segue, and now I look at the price tag.
Okay.
So that's also a concern. And so options, whether 6% or 7%, or I don't know what the,
Brick is the medium cost. So if you looked at a brick price, and then tilt-up would cost you about 6% less, and precast is going to be about 7% more. So although you wouldn't think that's a lot on a $14 million building, it adds up. So,
I think it's a lot. I don't like that. Okay. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
do you want to talk about?
All right.
Just a couple of comments. I like this footprint a lot better than the previous ones that we looked at. When we looked at the previous renderings that that architect presented us, I was under the impression that we as a group kind of preferred the neoclassical type design. Now, I like option 3 because it has the most lines and differentiation, you know, on the elevation. Is there any way for you to, without going through a lot of trouble or expense, add some more neoclassical type elements to option 3, just on the face of the building? I think what we liked is, you know, the ledges and the windows that stood out from the rest of the building, you know, those type of elements. Is that possible to do?
You're talking about ledges that you stand on, or ledges that just?
Just around the windows, you know, the different
Like the-
elements to the face of the building.
That's what we discussed the last time,
The
didn't we?
neoclassical popped, it came out. Now, you know, this is still rather flat. It's better than what we've seen so far, you know, as an option, but I was just wondering if you could introduce some neoclassical elements to the elevation.
Yeah, we can certainly do that, and really that's, I would say that's very possible with either option 2 or 3 to continue to work those.
That's why I like the precast, is because
Yeah.
you can dress it up.
Yeah, and I'd say, you know, at the point that we're at in design, these are the conceptual options that we're presenting, and the design will continue to be developed and refined, and certainly with more input to be taken into consideration for that, for all the
Okay.
options.
With that said, option 2 is fine too.
Yeah.
Tend to lean to option 3 more though.
But we can do some of those changes also with option 2.
All right. So, I guess, I could go with any of them, I guess. It aggravates me that we just keep going on and on, and we're behind now probably a year. But the design you could add to it, either one of the 3 I'd go along with, I guess, but I'd like to put, if you're gonna put that design, it's just I like the way the first floor is bigger, you got the second floor up a little, then you got the third floor. And I personally think that we need to let staff, the city manager, them find the spaces that work for our employees, that they handle them every day, so they need to do it. I think that's what got us into a little delay, because we got into letting everybody put their hand in it, and it kind of got out of hand. So I believe that we can come and get this building, you got even number 3 down to where you do a little more on the front or something, and then let you handle the other. I do know that you said the commissioners and the mayor's up top. I think we gotta have the meeting room at the bottom, so we know that, and I like the way you had it. So I think we're pretty much getting there. We just gotta maybe do a little front design on that building. And I knew you were talking, when I went over and looked at it the other day, you were talking about gray and white brick or something like that, something different. And it's still brick, but it changes it around a little bit.
Yeah, we'll set it
So-
off from the the development that's happening
Right.
around it.
So what I would ask you, Ms. Croteau, what do we need to do now?
Well, I think that we do need to pick a design selection and move on, because they do need to go through design, and you will see the design at the end. You will also see a cost when they are done with design. As we go through the design and selecting the design, it will help us hone in on what the cost should be. So if we're going to do a brick structure, that tends to be the middle of the road. We can dress it up with some of the elements that Commissioner Ferstner was talking about. But we do need to make a selection so that we can move forward. Otherwise, we really can't continue to move forward on the design.
And if you notice, when they showed a while ago, the up front of the building, if we push back, we have more civic area out front that we can have things and do things with people, citizens.
Yeah, one of the things that we heard is a criticism about Claremont, which is a beautiful building, by the way, when you see it in person. And it is, we've actually toured it, it's very workable. And it's a nice environment, I think, for the public and for staff. But it sits right out on the road, so you don't get that civic presence. So one of the things we like about Winter Garden is that it sits back. And it is a very efficient building inside if you've ever been in it. There is very little wasted space. And so you get that civic presence when it's pushed back. So the architect has actually pushed this building back so that you have a civic plaza out front. And it does connect to the parks, to the east and to the north.
All right, we need to either vote on 1, 2, or 3, and if you want to add something to that.
Can I just make a comment?
Asking some residents if they,
Huh?
would we mind asking some
Then
of
we
the
might as well start over.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I'm just telling you.
no, I know, we've been through this, I realize
I know.
that.
I just want to make a comment,
Yeah.
if I may. Is it safe to say that neither one of us like option 1? So we can eliminate that and keep 2 and 3 on the table and go from there? Is anyone a fan of option 1?
No.
I'm not either. No. So that eliminates 1, so now we're only dealing with option 2 and 3.
So we need to come down to 1.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we just eliminated 1, so
I like
we're closing in
all right,
on
we
it.
got rid of 1, so now let's get rid of 1 other. I personally would go along with 3 also, but it just need to,
I like 2 because of the dimension, the salt and pepper brick.
what about you?
I like 2.
2? All right,
Yeah, I can go.
3 votes, go with 2, I'll go with 2.
Okay,
Sometimes everybody needs to go along with the group.
all right.
But with
I will, it won't get through.
2, we can still add
Yeah.
what Commissioner First.
Go back to show 2 real quick.
Just to-
Can you blow it up?
Yeah.
I didn't mean blow the building up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, 2's good. All right,
And I
Well,
like
we-
the insects.
yeah,
They add dimension to it too.
yeah. All right. And I think there is gonna be some balconies on there for you and stuff like that, where you can, out towards the back, where you go towards the lake and the functions in the
And-
park.
I asked Nathan to go back to this because this is 2 brick buildings, and they show a little bit more of the use of precast and just some architectural detail. And I think that is probably more of what Commissioner Firstner is speaking to.
These pictures of TCU are perfect, really. They have the elements that I was talking about.
Okay.
I think we can
All right,
continue
we
to
got
push
that.
the,
We
we'll
need a
push,
motion to vote on
we'll
2.
push the design on option 2 to integrate more of this.
All right, do I hear a motion for item number 2?
I'll make that motion for item
Oh.
2 with some tweaking. Is that
Oh.
appropriate? Or leave tweaking out?
Motion made, number 2, design with the brick masonry with preset concrete. All right, do I hear a second? Made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear
I
a
second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliver. All right, any more comments? Let's vote. Yippee. All right,
All right, we have one more. We are going to show you the chambers and your area in the legislative space so that you see it.
okay.
Because Councilmember Brinson asked. So we did say that we would show a little bit about the floor plan, and I'm going to let Nathan talk about the first floor and why it was important to staff.
Okay, yeah, well, this is a conceptual of a plan, it's more of a plan diagram of the first floor, and we've really kind of highlighted the chamber area and the associated spaces that go with it, as well as the lobby and the customer center. And then the other areas of the plan are color-coded, but there's really, as Jamie indicated, there discussions about the distribution of the different departments and working groups is the next level, the next layer that we need to get into. What we've envisioned with this diagram is a building that you can access very easily from the west, from Blueford, which is the bottom of the image here. And you can also access it from that consolidated parking lot on the eastern side facing the park. And so there's a concentrated lobby and customer center that's close to the Blueford Street entrance, and then a continuous, very wide, kind of generous path that leads back up to the parking lot up on the east side. But our intent there was to really pull that lobby and the customer center to the front, so that on that civic elevation you have this very open and very kind of expansive space that you first come into, with a lot of light that supports that great customer experience. And then so the customer center itself would be right on the left, and then to the right is the primary pathway and entrance to the council chamber itself. And what we've done is position that out on the corner, so it has a nice presence on that civic plaza toward Blueford. And then the support spaces for that, including the anteroom and the broadcast booth and the chair storage. The future chamber, as we understand it, won't have fixed seats as you see in this current chamber, but the seats will be loose, so you can do different setups, different configurations in the room for different types of functions. That's all consolidated there on the right-hand side of the plan diagram. Jamie, anything else you wanted to point out?
No, I do want to point out that there's a couple things that we've asked him to look at, whether or not he could swing the chambers so that we have windows down the side, and you have you can use it more for a civic presence that way.
Yep.
So there are some things that staff is still tweaking, which is why we really didn't want to get into the floor plans, because Nathan is getting a lot of help on his floor plans, because some of what he's done, we'd like to see a little bit more open space and not so much back of the house in the center of the building. So there are still some things. They've only been on board technically 8 weeks, 10 weeks. So really they've done quite a bit in that 10 weeks.
What is outside, okay, the chambers, as you're exiting the chambers, what is to the right?
Just the one room?
Yes.
That is actually a conference room. Downstairs, accessible to the first floor.
Where
As
the
you're
restrooms going to
exiting
be?
the chamber?
There are restrooms, yes.
I do not like our setup here, I'm sorry, I have a real
Oh.
problem with this.
There are restrooms right outside the chamber door, and then there are also public restrooms on that corridor.
Yeah, we've situated the public restrooms and currently are situated right in here, men's and women's room. So they're off of the main corridor. We put them about halfway down, so regardless of which entry you come in, it's kind of at the halfway point. But it also is a nice pathway down to the anteroom, which leads up into the chamber here. But there's also smaller restrooms a little further down the corridor there.
And again, things might shift just a little bit.
Yeah, very early on in the planning stage for this. Okay. Any other questions about?
What's the anticipated seating with the size of the,
150.
how many?
150.
150. May we hope to fill them all.
High expectations. All right.
And we're just,
And this is a quick snapshot. This is a portion of the third floor. So up on the upper right here, you see a kind of a key plan that shows the outline of the third floor. So the yellow space is the suite here. This is the sort of the legislative suite. So what we've envisioned here is coming into a reception area, which would be off of a kind of a central, core element close to where the elevator comes up. Reception space, and then the commissioner offices are aligned along the building exterior there. So this is the side that faces McKee Street. And then the mayor's office suite up in the corner, a conference room adjacent to that. It's access from both the reception space as well as the mayor's office itself. And then we're still looking at the layout for the rest of this floor area, but thought it'd be beneficial to have a snapshot of at least how the legislative suite is laying out today. But work in progress for sure.
All right, thank you. Oh, we did have one other item on the agenda, and that was the second part of that. What staff was asking for is approval for the city manager to have approval on everything that goes on in the interior, where different departments are going, and the furnishings within the building, so that we can kind of move quickly on getting the design done. So we are asking for approval of that also.
All right, hear a motion for the city manager.
I'll make a motion to grant the city manager the ability to make decisions.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Commissioner Furley, seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Any comments?
Well,
No, sir. No, sir. Not yet.
I have a question. Do we want to make sure that it's the city manager or his designee?
Sir?
Do we
I'm
wanna
sorry, I did
have
write it that way, yes. I
Yeah,
It'd
apologize.
be the city manager or his designee.
And it's designated.
I'll amend the motion to include the city manager and/or his designee. How's that?
And I'll second that.
All right, is that an amendment or is that the new motion? All right, motion made by Commissioner Forster with the, turn it over to the city manager or his designate person, and seconded by Commissioner Wilson. All right,
I have one question concerning the motion. We're allowing them to move forward. Obviously, we want to move forward with this, but what about budget constraints as far as as it pertains to additions or
That'll have to
scale
come
backs
back
or anything
to
like
us.
that? Would they have to come back to the
let's
commission
come
for
back
that?
to us.
It does actually come back. The only thing that you've approved currently is this design function. So when we are done with design, we will be bringing an item back to you to talk about the construction cost. We do plan, as we go through this, to try to be smart and not value engineer at the end, but as we go through the design, make decisions that are probably more cost efficient for the city, so that you don't have to get into a value engineering situation right at the very end. I will tell you, though, that we looked at the engineering news report, which is basically the statistics on construction. And for about the past 10 years, the national average, I think, has been about 3.14% in construction increases. And we have heard from both ZHA and from Wharton Smith that currently for the state of Florida for the past couple of years, Florida is seeing anywhere between a 4 to 6% increase in construction cost. And I'm just making you aware of that because that will impact us when we bring the budget back to you. But you will see the budget and you will approve it before we move forward.
All right. Motion made, motion seconded. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, ma'am. I made a mistake earlier. We gotta go back to item 2. We've got to, on item 2, we have one other person there, has to be voted on. Back to item 2. It would be Mr. Jason Carroll. So I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Seconded by Commissioner Forster for item number 2 for Jason Carroll. Any more comments? Now let's vote. That carries unanimous. Now, we can move over.
10?
Number 10. New appointments to the Human Relations Diversity Board.
May I make a comment? Oh.
Yes, Commissioner Wilson.
I was reviewing this, and what I went ahead and reviewed the applications, and what I was looking at is the representation from each district on that board. And, you know, it's wonderful we're in a spot that you can have, we have one spot open and 2 applicants, which is wonderful, because we love to see our boards filled. But I see District 1 right now has 3 residents on that board. District 2, I have 2. District 3 has 1, and District 4 has 4. And in light of that, we have 2 applicants, one coming from District 1 and one coming from District 2. And I think in order to have a fair representation of all of our districts, I feel as though that our representative, our applicant from District 2 should be the one appointed to that board because, just because of the numbers, so we have a fair representation from all of our districts.
All right, we have one board position with two citizens. One is Gregory Meeks, District 1, and one is Lou Fontes, District 2. Okay, I got you. So I sit on that board as the representative of the city. We do not have any Hispanics or Latins on that board. You're right.
Well, right now, I'm looking at that we have a fair representation from all of our districts. We, of course, would love to
that's
see.
what it's
We
supposed to
don't,
be.
yeah,
No.
but we don't because District 3, but, you know, I'd like to see in the future on some of our boards like that District 3 would have more. But we don't have the applicants at this point.
All right.
So I don't know if there's any discussion, but I personally want to see that, I make a motion that we would appoint Lou Fontanez from District 2 to the HRDV board.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson from Mr. Fontanez, District 2.
I second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Alt. All right, any more discussion?
I just hope that whatever we decide, that whoever the applicant is that is not chosen, I hope they will look at other boards, because there aren't many other boards that we have within the city that do have openings.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
All right. The number 11 is Community Relations Manager, Joy Wright. Request for authorization to proceed with implementation of criteria for administration of neighborhood small grants program. Now that's, go ahead.
Good evening. For the record, Joy Wright, Community Relations Manager. During the budget workshops, the City Commission directed staff to develop criteria for a new and improved neighborhood grant. The Development Services team and the Support Services team members, we met and we developed the criteria that you have before you tonight. First, we like to simplify the application process. We're recommending smaller neighborhoods that do not have HOAs, they're non-HOAs, that they be allowed to participate in the grant application process. Previously, they did not because they felt intimidated by the most valuable partnership application process, which is a 15-page application. So we wanted to simplify that. We'd also like to limit the number of times that HOAs and non-HOAs can apply for a grant and limit that to once every other year. Previously, with our most valuable partnership grant program, applicants, HOAs, and civic groups could apply for the grant every year and also be awarded the grant every year. So we wanted to change that as well. At this time, we'd like to receive authorization to proceed with the criteria that you have before you tonight, with the goal of starting the grant program the first of the year, January 2020.
All right, any comments?
I'm excited. Sorry.
Well, make a motion.
I'll make a motion to, sorry.
You all decide.
I'm sorry, my daughter texted me and just called me, and usually she doesn't do that, so I thought something was wrong.
Make a motion.
Sorry. I'm excited about this. I'll be happy to make that motion that we proceed with the authorization for and the revisions that will make it possible for the neighborhood grant.
Yes,
Does that sound right?
yes,
Okay.
it does.
I'm
All right,
excited.
do I hear a second?
I like to second it. I'm equally excited as well.
Seconded by Commissioner Oliver. All right, no more comments? Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank
We're gonna take a 5-minute break before I
thank
finish
you.
the meeting tonight. We got a couple comments here for people. I need to take a little break.
Thank you.
Hey,
My daughter never calls me.
we're down to the staff action items.
Nothing further, Mayor.
All right, comments from the citizens and the public. All right, I have Mr. Jason Litz. Did he leave? He's out in the audience. I think he's out in the hallway.
He's out in the hall.
Somebody call him in. Grab that candy. It's all right.
My apologies.
It's all right.
Thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Name's Jason Leitz. Address is 4421 Winterwood Circle, Orlando, Florida 32835. Just wanted to thank Commissioner Oliver for inviting me tonight to give you a recap of our summer youth employment program. So I actually came and spoke to you guys a little while ago about our intent to bring our summer youth employment program in and the city's investment into the program. Yes, please. And through your guys' investment and the insight you had and the commitment that you had for our young adults to be involved in the program, we were able to serve more young adults than we actually thought we were going to be able to serve. So our goal was to serve 10 this year, which was a good starting point and something to build off on. So we were really excited about that. And we actually ended up, because of the excitement, because of your guys' commitment, and also because of the young adults in the Ocoee area that were interested in participating, we actually served 16. So we were able to come to the table and actually serve more than we actually thought. Some of them had the distinct honor of actually working at the city for the summer, so we were really thankful for you guys coming to the table and being worksite partners, not only financially investing, but also professionally investing by allowing them the opportunity to work. Throughout the program, we had $45,500 that was earned by the students during the summer. So that's money that's they earn, but we also know that that is money that gets invested back into the community. So we're really, really thankful for the opportunity to be able to do that and partner with you all to bring that opportunity to them. We had 10 businesses participate, which that is really incredible for us, so we're really happy about that. We actually had the really distinct honor, Commissioner Oliver actually came to our job fair. So before these students actually get to have their internships, they go to a soft skills training that we conduct, and at the conclusion of that, they actually go to a job fair and had the opportunity to meet many of them. I will say that he had one of the longest lines, I think, for individuals wanting to meet and interact and interview with him. So that was one of the amazing things. The students worked approximately 3,000 hours during the summer. So I just wanted to come back and kind of put a pin in. He was really good for the first hour. Sorry. But we are really looking forward to what we're going to be able to do in the future. I think this was a great stepping stone of what we're going to be able to accomplish and how this partnership continue to flourish and what we can bring to the citizens of Ocoee in terms of workforce development and preparation.
All right, we appreciate it. I have one comment.
Yes.
I did vote at the budget thing. I voted no on it because one reason. I want it where it's all diversified for all children, young people. Because I watched every day when school's out, I can take you down here on the street corner and watch all the Hispanics and Latins going home. Not a one of them was on that workforce. Not one. They need jobs. They need money to come in too. So however we do that, let's split it up where all people have a chance at it. So that's why I voted no, and I will vote for it again to have it. But I want it where it's diversified to all the young people to be on that board. Because, like I said, not one Hispanic was on that board. So I don't know who does the hiring or who does what, but we need to look at bringing them in.
Yeah, and we will gladly partner with you in terms of getting the word out so they can apply.
Yeah.
And
okay.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. Like
Okay.
that's.
I know they. I've met a lot of the ones working in the city clerk's office are great. Your little group was actually a wonderful group. I mean, I had the pleasure of meeting some of them just at the job fair, and that was they were a good group.
Well, absolutely. I think I agree with the mayor. He makes a great point. There is a lot of diversity in the city, and again, as we opened up that program, it was actually opened up to all kids, and we only interviewed the one that showed up, the one that put in applications that showed up. So again, it seemed to be one-sided, but that's the ones that took advantage of the program, even though we actually put the actual word out. We marketed the program throughout the entire Ocoee, Wekiva, Apopka, West Orange, all of the high schools in the area, but that's what took advantage of. But I think that as we move forward, we need to put more of a push on getting more diversity into the program, so as we move forward into 2020.
Yeah, and I think
I will help you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think to the mayor's point, like making sure that, and again, this was our first year of making a concentrated effort, and the word of mouth will spread. I mean, we see these programs grow exponentially as we continue them on. So I think it's a great observation, and it's also something that we can take some focus on.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for hanging around. I apologize. I probably should have called you up.
No worries. I appreciate the opportunity.
You've had a hard night tonight.
Yes, he has.
All right, Brad Lomnick. I think that, okay.
Commissioners, Mr. Mayor, Brad Lomnick, 957 Veronica Circle. I really have a question more probably towards staff and maybe Rob. I'm curious to know about what the comprehensive annual financial report is, the CAFRA, and if you could maybe give us a quick on what the CAFRA is and what it takes to get the CAFRA done.
Mayor?
Yes, sir. Go ahead. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm sorry, and if you could have my time suspended while somebody else is speaking.
Florida state law requires that
I will.
all governments publish a complete set of financial statements presented in conformity with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States and audited by a firm of licensed certified public accountants in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards. We're required to do that every year, and we're required to send that to the state Office of Financial Services. So it's an audit we must do, and they look at our financial statements, and it's something that is required to do each year by law.
And the CAFRA is also audited by an outside firm as well before it's...
They don't audit the CAFR, they audit the financial documents which the city puts together and submits to the Department of Financial Services and is required to do.
And that's what creates the AFR, right? The annual financial report that goes
That's
to
correct.
the state per state statute?
That's correct.
Okay, great. And I have one more question, more to you. Thank you very much. And this is more of a comment. You know, I was, I think in one of the other city meetings, there were some comments that came up about Founder's Day and what the costs were and, you know, does it cost us extra money? And, you know, looking through the budget and 2017's event, I believe we took in almost $3,000 or $73,000 more than what it cost the city in expenses. I believe the total expenditure was $557,000, and I believe we brought in $631,000. I was just wondering, maybe the commission wanted to speak to that. You know, if anybody has any
I'm going
comments
to in a
about
few
that.
minutes. I brought these in to give out tonight. I keep getting hammered on it, and I want to.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. You get All right, now, hold on to those. So we got Mr. Atkins. Start. You didn't use all your time, Brad.
Oh.
Start.
So I appreciate Mr. Lomax's comments in regards to the CAFRA. It is actually the base and most simple form that the state requires. When it comes up to comments in regards to an audit within the city, it's more of an intensive audit of overall practices, whether it's productivity, whether it's being efficient, which has nothing to do with the CAFRA, to be honest with you. In regards to Founder's Day, in regards to the $73,000 in 2017 that was shown as a profit, that is actually not in our budget in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up what I have brought to the board today. I put on record. Actually, there's only 2 sections in the budget that reflect anything to do with the Founder's Day. It's on page 120, Fund 001, and on page 124, Fund 001. It's $115,000 as an expense line item. It's $3,500 as an expense line item. And I've seen the commission approve $400,000 for entertainment. So that's $518,500 just to begin the process of Founder's Day. And nowhere in the budget over 10 years does it show anywhere that there is any income except for that piece of paper that was just handed out. So in saying that, at the end of the day, I don't really care whether or not we make money or lose money. I think it could be positive for our community. When we build downtown, we can generate sales tax revenue. What I care about is accountability and transparency. And to be honest with you, I think that this board, once this Founder's Day gets done, should put that piece of paper that Mr. Lomnack's talking about on the record and to the public. That way it's in stone, and then at that point in time, we can actually go forward and build on that or take away from that. So it was nice to hear those comments by Mr. Lomnack that Mr. Frank was well prepared for to answer. But I want to touch on one more other thing with 1 minute left in regards to the City Hall project. We're now approving the exterior of the City Hall. We're passing the interior design and fixtures, which is the most expensive part of construction, onto either the city manager or someone else who is not elected by the taxpayers. 2 years ago, we financed $20 million in the form of a bond secured by the non-ad valorem fees of the taxpayers of this city to build that City Hall. It was at the amount of $17 million. You want me to be honest with you? At the first budget meeting, Mr. Frank stated that due to the economic conditions, that we were seeing an increase of 30% in commodities to build. But yet the individuals that stood here earlier today said that the increase is only 4.7 based upon which one you choose. So at the end of the day, as a taxpayer, all I ask the commission to do is, one, make the final decision as a taxpayer, that the elected officials make the final decision, whether Mr. Frank produces 1 or 2 for you to choose from, that it stays underneath $20 million, and that we get the job done. Thank you very much. You have any questions?
All right. No, I don't have any questions. I'm gonna make a couple of statements. I was gonna, not to you.
And they're not for me?
No,
Okay.
I'm gonna make them for
Are they in
myself.
regards to
I'm gonna make them for myself.
Are they in regards to what I said?
You have a seat, Mr. Atkins.
I mean, if you
You
respond
have a
back to me, I
seat.
should be able to
Mr.
respond back,
Atkins,
I
I'm
would think.
gonna ask you once more without getting upset. Have a seat.
I'm not upset, sir, but if you're
Have a seat.
responding back to something I said, I should be able to
I'm
respond
gonna
back.
explain things, Mr. Atkins. Have
You're
a
gonna
seat.
explain to me after I sit down and I can't
Yeah.
speak?
Yeah.
You're good at that, thank you.
You seem don't get it, so I'm gonna try to explain it to you one more time. As we do different things here in the city, just as, and I always use Commissioner Wilson has the spring fling, we do that, I don't see that, that's her deal, she does that spring fling, goes through the city, gets it approved, does what she has to do, gets done, whatever, I don't see that on paperwork. This is done every year. The finance, I don't do it, the finance department brings this, if you'd love a copy of this, I'd be glad to give it to you. I give a couple of people, and I give it to all the commissioners. Yes, we spent $535,000, but we raised $631,000. And no, the city's not on hook for $518,500. You read out Disneyland, I guess maybe you work there or something. You're in Fairyland or Disneyland, because there's no way that we've done anything to put the city on, taxpayers on hold for $518,500. I've done this for 20 years. I took it over from the Lions Club, who did it before. There is no way that if we don't make money, we won't do it. We try to do it, and I'm gonna do a Facebook Live this week, and I'm gonna bring up, and I won't tell about the Founder's Day again, and I'm gonna bring this up and show it to the public. And I'm gonna tell them we have one gentleman that doesn't believe that the city pays back what it does. I'm telling you, if you start talking, I'm gonna have you go out.
Put it on the record.
It is on the record, right? Yes, it is. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. This is on public record. This comes from the finance department, not me. So it is on record, folks. You can, and if it's this commission, 5 of them vote not to have this next year, then we won't have it. And then I would tell you that there's a lot of citizens that do like it. A lot of citizens that live in this city. I get emails from them all the time. So you can do what you want to do, but I'm telling you, I want all of you to read this and tell me when you go raise your functions how much money you raise. just like we did the town hall with Commissioner Oliver. That is not itemized out for what the cost was for people to be here. Just like Spring Fling, or anything, the one we're fixing to do with Commissioner Brent's, which I think Go is paying most of that. I think, isn't that right? So
Yeah, that's correct.
this is on public record. Anybody want one, I'll give you one, but it is on public record. All we do is start off with $110,000, and I don't guess you can read, because it says that, and it says that everywhere. $110,000, if he says one more thing, I want you to take him outside. $110,000 is what we start with, and we pay it all back. It all goes back. So everybody, please keep that. You want to go over, you ask the finance director any questions, feel free to do it. All right, we'll start. Who did I start with earlier? I think I started down there.
Mr. Mayor, can I retain the rest of my time?
Yes, sir. He's got a minute and 30 seconds.
Just a quick comment back to the city manager. So I want to go back to the CAFR real quick. That's something all of your department heads have to give their budgets to every year to make that form?
No, it's actually, it's a summary of what happened in the previous year. The finance department puts all that information together in our financial reports. The auditors come in, stay for about 6 weeks, go through all that, and then we have the final document that's put out and sent to the state.
At the end of the day, is that a true financial statement of the health of our city?
That's exactly the definition of what the CAFR is.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have anything to say in the audience? All right. Excuse me, back to Commissioner Oliver.
Just-
I think, well, I don't think it matters to me.
Did I start
I'm
with
in
you?
the middle.
No, I don't remember.
Go ahead.
I can't remember. Okay, just a couple comments. One, I appreciate the comments that have been made tonight from both perspectives of what a audit is and the perspective of what the city says audit is, even if it is in its simplest form. One comment I do want to make about an audit is the fact that it starts at a point, one point. And then it goes all the way through the different departments. It goes through the different operations of the city. So any money that goes in, comes out, it starts at that point. It brings you all the way back to where it started. And it gives you, it draws a complete picture of the financial and operational health of the city. The CAFR really doesn't do that. It really doesn't. There's a lot of points that's missing in that CAFR that I believe that could be beneficial knowledge to our not only citizens, but to our staff and to our leadership. I believe that it could be something that could be positive when we actually go to a external forensic audit. And when I say forensic, I mean forensic. It actually connects dots is what it does. And I believe that we can probably find a lot of things that, opportunities that we may have been missing over the years. So I don't look at it as a bad thing. I've never have looked at it as a bad thing. So I agree with the statements that's been made, but I do believe that we can build on those statements, and I believe that that we can actually learn a lot from an external forensic audit that would actually probably show us in maybe great health, or at least a lot of opportunities that we can capitalize on. As far as Founders Day, I'm not really going to comment on the ins and outs of Founders Day and the funds that's being generated or not generated through Founders Day. That's a conversation for another day. But again, I do believe that we have some opportunities as citizens, as leaderships, to be able to capitalize on. And I look at it as a positive thing and not something negative. So I'm hoping that that other citizens, and I have gotten a lot of emails, phone calls about it, and looking at it from that perspective as well. So I've seen it from both sides. Nonetheless, I digress. I received a communication from former Commissioner Wintergarden, Commissioner Charlene Wilder. They are having their annual Veterans Day ceremony on Saturday, November 2nd, and she has requested that the commissioners of Ocoee would attend and participate. She came before this commission last year with the same program. She's asking that the city will put in a ad in their paper or their program as they did last year. She also left me a copy of what they did last year for their program. So she only had one copy left. So as you can see, this is what we did last year for their program. So I'm hoping that the city would continue to support their Veterans Day program. And Mayor, she did specifically ask that you come this year if you can.
I'm
If you can. Out of town? Okay.
Is that November 2nd?
November 2nd,
Yeah,
yes.
I sent her an email, but I won't talk to her.
So
Real nice lady.
I will definitely attend. I had a great time at that event last year. I will attend again this year. And she left me this information, hoping that the city would continue to participate as well as take out the inside front cover ad as they did last year. She said it is $125. So I'd like to make a motion that we continue to participate in the Winter Garden Veterans Day program through Bethel Golden Angels Ministry.
I'll second
Second.
that. Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wilson. Motion made by Commissioner Oliver. Yeah, I already talked with her. She's a super nice lady. I gotta send the thing back to her.
Maybe.
Any more comments?
Maybe we could get Winter Garden to put an ad in some of our stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Something
they're
we
not-
have.
I think they're separate. That's what-
No, I know they are separate, but I'm just saying, wouldn't it be nice to see Winter Garden put an ad?
It would be. Did everybody vote?
No, you didn't say
Yeah,
that.
now it
Okay.
is. Unanimous. All right.
That's all I have, sir.
Commissioner First.
Just want to remind everybody that Halloween is approaching fast. Please be careful out on the street. There's going to be a lot of children out in all the neighborhoods. Don't let the little ones go unattended. Make sure that they're supervised out there, and you all have a safe holiday.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, I have a couple things. Just to let you know, the Lions Club is also holding a Halloween haunted house. There's folks that love to go to all of them, so we just like to let you know there's another one in town. The other item I wanted to mention, that if you're traveling down Clark Road near 50, you'll see that the medians are being redone. That's a project under the CRA, which is the Community Redevelopment Agency, and they only can go so far, so if you see medians a little further that you think should be adjusted, the CRA can only work to a certain point, because that's within their boundaries. But hopefully I know we're going to see some great enhancements to that area, which, again, that's one of our gateways into our community coming off the 408. So I'm looking forward to that, so just be patient with all the cones out in the road. And please be careful while people are working out there. The other item I wanted to bring up, and I hope I can get the consensus of the commission for this. About a week ago, last Saturday, there was an event here regarding the pet fair. And the portalets were put out basically on Oakland Avenue, which was right in this view of some of our residents' homes. And I would like us to be aware that we need to use some common sense for these portalets, where they should be placed, because we really shouldn't have to have a resident have to look out their front door and look at these portalets. And when I looked at the picture, quite frankly, it seemed as though, I understand the boat dock was closed, but the portalets were all the way over on Oakland Avenue. And when I saw the picture of them, they were quite a bit of distance, but I think we need to use some common sense where we have portalets placed, and that I think that we should not put them, they should not go along the right-of-way, am I right? They should be not along the right-of-way of both sides of Oakland Avenue in front of residents' home, at least 100 feet from the home. And am I saying this correct, Rob, that they should not be on either side right-of-way?
Yeah, we discussed this earlier, and there are certain larger functions where we may have to infringe a little on that, but I think the general idea was to not put them in front of the residents' homes, and if it has to be somewhere in that vicinity, to try to keep them 100 feet away at least, or more.
Because we only have 2 residents, basically, that border the park and that area, and I think we should just use some common sense. So I'm hoping I can ask the commission's consensus to make our departments aware of the limits and what they should not do.
Who handles that? Parks Department?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, Mayor, what happens is, we have part-time staff on Saturdays, and then the guys come to drop off the portalets, and, they just, is it okay to drop them here? And whoever, the poor staff member says yes, and the next thing, Commissioner Wilson's getting a phone call. So probably the best way to handle that is just make sure all staff knows and just make sure we follow through. And if it does happen, let's get them moved.
We also should remember that we have just enhanced our Lakeshore Center. It looks sharp. When you have a party going on, something else where someone had left a portalet over the weekend, someone who's in there does not want to have to look out at this portalet. They were quite colorful, but that doesn't mean that you want to look at them. So I think, again, we need to use some common sense on where they're placed in that park for events. So I'm hoping I can ask for the consensus. That the mayor have to ask for the consensus? I think you have to ask for that, don't you?
Yeah,
You're the mayor.
Consensus okay?
Mhm.
Yeah, I said, yeah.
Thank you.
I think the park needs to be notified that it has to be a rule set or a thing, just like we do everything else, where it goes and how it goes. And make sure they're picked up on time. Okay.
Thank you very much. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Branson.
Okay, I'm gonna talk a little trash. It's a little bit.
Uh-oh, here comes Steve.
Here comes the director.
That is true.
Public Works. We had an issue, obviously, recently, again, with the trash not being picked up. And I think what we're gonna need to do, and I've talked with the good Director of Public Works, Mr. Steve Krug, already about this, but we need to make sure that we get the word out to the residents, because I know his office, as well as myself, have been inundated with phone calls and emails and carrier pigeons and everything else regarding the failure to pick up trash and or recycle bins. So I think, I'm gonna punt right now.
I appreciate that, Commissioner. We have, just to let everyone know, and I alerted the city manager, and we put into place some things to help notify people. We have a couple trucks down for repairs, so we're running as late as we can, but we're still limited by how late we can dump at the transfer station. So we're dumping as late as we can, going back and running our trucks until they're packed out, but we're not able to catch all the subdivisions right now. We should have another truck up and running tomorrow where we can get on top of it again, but like tonight, my team emailed me and said, Sleepy Harbor and Harbor Highlands will not get collected tonight. We'll be back in there first thing tomorrow and be knocking it out. One of the positive things, just some people have said, is this what we're gonna get in the transition? We're still self-performing on the solid waste. Our intention is we're shooting for January 6th, the first full week in January, for the contractor to take over the service. One of the benefits of that, they have a lot more trucks than we do. And we had actually talked to them a couple of years ago on the possibility of letting us provide a truck if we were down for a day. It's just the logistics was kind of tough, because usually when a truck goes down, it's rare that we have one down for like 4 days, the way we are right now. So that didn't quite work out, but one of the benefits is they also have other routes. When they take over, they'll be able to pull in from other municipalities. And they also, as they mentioned when they were talking to you at the one night, they have their own landfill. We'd have to pay for them to open it up. Orange County won't open the transfer station late for us. They have that ability, so if they gotta run late and take their trash to their own landfill, they can do that. So there are gonna be some positive things going forward with the direction that the commission has taken on solid waste, but we appreciate everyone's patience. The citizens have actually been pretty good once they hear what's going on. We haven't had anybody angry or upset. I do know, Commissioner Brinson, you mentioned you're doing a lot of social media, and I appreciate that. And we'll keep doing that. Hopefully we'll be back on track tomorrow.
All right, and I thank you for that, Director. That's one of the things I think, we as citizens, we got to understand that sometimes life happens. But some of the things we're doing in-house, when we face some of these hiccups, they are going to be hiccups that we have to adjust for and circle back to the next day or maybe 2 days later. But I would encourage, to continue to do social media, maybe put it on our website that, what's going on, so the citizens can have a general idea of that we haven't forgotten about you, we're getting to you, but because, things happen, we couldn't do it today. So that's important. So I thank you for that. I just wanted to make sure that we mention that on television that we're doing those things. Thank you. Did you have?
Thank you.
Okay. So that was my trash talking for tonight. The Haitian Chamber, and this is something I'm going to be asking the commission they're having a soiree coming up in a month or so, maybe a couple of months. And they asked me if we could purchase a table, $800, eight seats, and I'm just bringing it for the commission. Maybe we can get it out of contingency.
Anybody got a discussion? Sorry,
How many, who will be, I wonder, I mean, I don't know, I've not been involved in that chamber. I know that we have the West Orange Chamber that we buy tables for. Who would be attending? How many people would be attending? 'Cause it may be more cost effective if we bought the seats for the individuals who are going than a table, because, we are involved in our chamber here. I know, I don't think I even get, I don't know if I get emails from that chamber.
I haven't.
You
Yeah,
haven't?
yeah, and that may be, that's something that's easy, as far as emails, easy to correct
No,
it. But as far as who's going, I think we should open that up to whomever in the city would like to go, whether it's, someone here on the dice or the staff, or other employees. But, the West Orange Chamber is the West Orange County Chamber. It's not Ocoee's chamber. We have several chambers. We have several chambers, so, I just think it's a good idea if we purchase a table for it.
Where are they located?
The chamber,
Their offices?
their office is located in, what's the mall? Fashion Square?
Fashion Square?
Yes.
They have an Ocoee address and all?
No, Fashion Square is not in
Oh, you
Ocoee.
said that. I'm sorry, I thought you said
Yeah.
West
West-
Ocoee.
yeah.
Well,
Right.
it's up to the commissioners. I've got one other item coming up too, so
I have a question.
I did, before I turn it
So
over
I'm
to you,
sorry,
I
go
will. I will say that, the West Orange Chamber is our chamber. In reality, it is our chamber, because we come to we put money into that chamber. We've helped pay, right, Rob? We help pay for the chamber. We have a representative on that chamber. That is our chamber, and they do a lot of functions in our town. They come here and hold things in our building here. They do the Fiesta, Fest. But they are our chamber.
Right, well, no, I didn't mean they're not our chamber,
Yeah.
but there's multiple chambers around the geographical area that we can and should participate in, and this is just one more chamber, is what I'm saying.
I think until we get involved, I mean, I have a problem buying a few seats, but, I'd like to hear, I guess, I've had no one come forward in our city from that chamber.
What does the seat cost?
$100.
How much?
$100.
I'd say we could pay for you to have a seat to go.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
The chamber, the Haitian Chamber, are they involved in any businesses in Ocoee? Do they have any citizenship in the city of Ocoee? What kind of impact does that chamber make within the city of Ocoee?
Yes, they do have businesses in the city of Ocoee. They also live in homeowners in the city of Ocoee. In fact, one of their officers sits on the HRDB now, the Human Relations Diversity Board.
Who's that?
Marlene Just. Marlene. She sits on the HRDB now. So they're active in our community.
I wouldn't mind purchasing some seats or some tickets or even a table, but what I would like to see, I would probably like to see more visibility. I would like to see that chamber host more events within the city of Ocoee.
And that's fair.
I'd like to see that happen in the city of
That's
Ocoee.
fair.
Well, like I said, I have no problem paying for it. Maybe we could pay for a seat for you and your wife, if that's who's going. Are you going to it?
We haven't even given a date.
Yes.
I would like to attend it to actually meet some of the leadership of the chamber.
So, I think we, basically,
What-
the commissioners.
When is the date?
November 16th.
Oh, let's see. That's a Saturday.
When is our San Antonio?
That's when you're gonna be in San Antonio, Commissioner. If I'm not mistaken.
Is that the,
have it.
Yeah.
National League of Cities?
Yes, yes.
I'm,
Yeah.
I have it for the,
I don't know where, I think Sherry's still here in the back. I think she's gone, but I think that's the 16th is when we'll be, that's the Saturday, last day of the conference.
that's easy to find out.
The first and second.
I think I have
No,
it.
that's the 19th.
Huh?
That's the following week, I believe.
Is it?
I have the following week.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Come right back before Thanksgiving. All right. So, you know, somebody speak up. I mean, if you want to pay for the 2 commissioners to go, pay for 2 commissioners to go.
I would, if they're gonna go, I'd have no, if they're going to attend, I have no problem making that motion to buy the 4 seats. If who's ever going to attend, but if you're not going to attend, we need to know upfront before we spend the money.
Yeah, I can't see purchasing a table for 8 when only, seems like maybe 4 may be going.
Okay.
All right.
If that's the case, I mean, then I'm booked that day, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So 4 people, right?
4 tickets.
4 tickets. All right. I can't make the motion, somebody else.
Oh, I think, did I make
You
that
make the motion.
You make a motion? Who
I
seconded?
believe I did.
Who seconded?
I second it.
Nobody
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson, seconded by Commissioner Oliver for $400, 4 tickets for the Haitian Chamber of Commerce on November 16th.
Correct.
Saturday. Let's vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
I guess you can get Sherry,
Thank you for that.
I think,
Okay.
get Sherry to take care of that or something.
Okay.
All right.
The other thing I had, this is, I don't know if the chief is here, Chief Brown is here. I don't know how much attention has been paid to Ocoee High School and the parking there. I don't know if he's getting feedback from the community still with the double parking. Just want to make you aware, not necessarily need to.
I didn't hear the beginning.
Yeah, as far as the Ocoee High School, the parking over there by Crown Point, is there still an issue from your perspective? Because I've got a couple of emails.
We
saying
haven't got that much feedback recently. It is something we need to check on. You know, it's gonna be continue to be a problem depending on the weather and everything else, but, we haven't gotten any recently.
Okay, and, because sometimes I get emails from the same people.
Right.
And I just want to make sure that, you know.
You
you're
haven't
aware.
either, correct?
Just from the same.
Currently.
Just from the same
Currently.
people. Yep,
Okay.
that's it. Thank you, Chief. The last thing I got is something that's happening on this coming Thursday. That is the business networking event that we're having here in the Ocoee Event Center with the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority for small businesses. Those small businesses who want to do business or who have considered or thought of doing business with the airport, whether it's the Greater Orlando Airport or the Executive Airport, should come out to this event because they will show you how to do business with the airport. They have a lot of contracts that needs to be filled out there, and they don't have enough small businesses to do so. If you come out here on Thursday morning at 8 a.m. at the event center, they will show you, they will teach you, they will guide you, they will walk you through the process, and they will get you paired up with general contractors out there to get you work if you're a small business. And the work, it could be anywhere from asphalt to IT to pizzas to kiosks to lighting to flooring, you name it, they need it. So come on out, and it's free. We're gonna have breakfast there for you. Good friends over at GOA, who is partners with us on this event, is gonna provide us with breakfast. So 8 a.m. this coming Thursday, October 17th, for the business networking event, doing business with GOA, as well as the city of Ocoee. I believe our good assistant city manager will be there, giving us great information as well. And that is all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, couple things, Chief, we don't get lost. Hey, in Thunder County, I think that I had a gentleman call me, and they got approved for a shooting range on North Lakewood at a house. That's where the chicken farm is, at the end of Lakewood, right where they have the semi-parking garage, parking facility at now, that I turned into the county. But on the left side, right going up before you turn right on the stop sign to go back out onto Clear Corner Road, they've got approved by the county a shooting range.
Okay.
It's called, I guess they call it a super range. I don't know what the difference is. Rob, you might know. But they got approved for a gun range there.
Okay.
You say the guys out there shooting all the time, so. There's houses back behind that, and that new daycare we just put in is behind it. So somebody might ought to look into that. All right. Appreciate it. Like I said, next, this Friday at 11:30 is the sign up for the golf at Forest Lake Golf Course for the Founders Day tournament. That's been handled by Charles Smith and Brandy up at the sewer and water facility. They do a good job, and tee time's at 12:30. I think a foursome's $400. Also, one other thing, and Rob reminded me about it the other day, and I know she's on the hospital board, Shepherd's Hope, that's opened up in Winter Garden, and Rob, can you remember what percentage of Ocoee goes to Shepherd's Hope?
Yeah, I don't have the information in front of me. I do know, Mayor, that from the statistics that they gave us, I think it was from 2018, they were requesting some support from the city from $2,000 to $5,000, and the Ocoee residents that actually went to the clinic and saw a doctor, there were 2,173, I believe, last year. So Pam Gould, who's on the school board, is also on the board for Shepherd's Hope, and you know there's been discussions if the city could somehow help support that to a tune, you know, to try to help buy down the cost of the supplies and the medical professionals over there. But it was about 2,100 residents who actually went there and saw a doctor last year. They did add the 2019 stats, and it looks like up until this point, there are like 1,800 or 1,900 already this year also.
So I think they were talking about giving $2,000 or $2,500, but it is something that a lot of people from Ocoee do go to. They just happen to get a piece of land. I don't know if the city give them that or somebody, Winter Garden, but Winter Garden is donating to it. I checked on that too, Rosemary. But that is a useful thing that a lot of our citizens get to go there, so.
Yeah, Winter Garden did help contribute to that. Winter Garden did contribute to their facility there, Mayor.
And the healthcare district did also.
It just happens to be, it's the buildings in Winter Garden, but it's for everybody in West Orange. So it's, I'd say, in our contingency fund, it's up to the commissioners, and that's to a fund there that $2,000 or $2,500.
I'll be happy to make that motion. Shepherd's Hope is a wonderful program. It deals with uninsured or underinsured individuals, and they've just built a lovely facility up on 9th Street, which will be their
Is that the
medical.
new one?
The new one, it's just over the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
It's their medical home. They used to operate here. They still have one facility that does operate, I believe, on Saturdays, but they used to, most of the other residents, our local residents came to the facility across from Health Central on certain nights of the week. And so it is a very valuable organization, in my opinion. So I have no problem making the motion for $2,500, I think is a reasonable amount
All right, motion made by Commissioner Wilson, there's a second.
from contingency.
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bradshaw.
We've been doing this since 2018, right? That
Shepherd's Hope's been in
They
existence.
just got another place.
They
Another
have
facility.
a medical home, but they have been in the area for years.
Yeah.
And they've.
Pamela Good, that's.
Pam Gould, they used to go ahead, they used to be at Westside Votech, they would see clients there years ago, and they used space that was available to them, which now, it's wonderful, they've got their own facility for people to come to.
perhaps we would consider next year adding it as a line item in our budget.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a
good
very
idea.
good idea.
All right, so let's vote. All right. Two comments, and I'm gonna finish up. I know Rob, we're starting to run into almost close to 9 o'clock. Rob said, somebody said 9, I was gonna hold us to 9, but I said 9. So, I want to say about Founder's Day Committee. We have, Charlie, I don't know how many we have on there, probably 10 or 12 people, different city people, and then I have 4 people on another committee that works on their civilians, that are citizens that come work on it also at the same time. So we do have a total of about 16 people on that Founder's Day, but we do have 4 citizens that work on it, and we're always open to having help. So, and while I was talking a while ago in that public comment, I only took less than 3 minutes. Meeting adjourned.
Okay, Charlie, don't go away. Yeah.
Charlie Brown. Hey, Charlie, you gonna let me know tomorrow?
Oh, Mayor, are we taking a picture with you?
Hey, all the commissioners need to get their picture made.